is yours, and we thank you for your support that allows us the freedom to be here right now on the Open Journal. I'm Dwayne Bradley with Marlo Blue. Safe cycling starts with safe infrastructure, like protected bike lanes, transit routes connecting communities, accessible bike trails, and for the first time in 20 years, if not forever, the City of Houston has committed itself to assemble a bicycle master plan.
Yeah, today's guests are both fervent cyclists. Patrick Walsh is Director of Planning in the City of Houston, and Michael Payne is BikeHouston's Executive Director, and both are involved in making of the bicycle master plan for Houston. So welcome. I'm so glad you guys are both here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marlo.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome.
So, Michael Payne, you're a two-timer now. You're a recidivist to the Open Journal. Welcome back. And for folks who may have missed or not gone back into the archive, maybe weren't around listening to your first visit with us when you introduced yourself as the Executive Director of BikeHouston, what exactly is BikeHouston? Why do they need an Executive Director? What is it you do?
Sure. Thanks, Dwayne. It's great to be back at KPFT. So, as you said, BikeHouston is a nonprofit. We are charged with improving Houston when it comes to cycling. We want to make Houston one of the best cycling cities in the country. We recognize that there are about 1 million bicycle owners in the Houston area, many of whom are not using their bicycles on a regular basis because they don't feel comfortable doing so. And we're very excited about the opportunity to improve conditions in our city so that people can circulate safely, both for recreational purposes, transportation purposes, fitness, whatever it is.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming in on this wet day, and I'm guessing you chose to not bike in today.
He's very dry.
I
am dry.
So
okay, well,
I think we're good.
I don't know if we can deal with the issue of, moisture and the biking issue together, but we'll just stick with biking here today. So, Patrick Walsh, welcome, and you're from the City of Houston. You work as Director of Planning for the city. So we're going to be talking about the Bike Master Plan, but what's the overarching scope of your job as Director of Planning? Because it seems like bicycles would be somewhere pretty far down on the list of what a Director of Planning for this giant metropolitan, cosmopolitan, international smorgasbord city, our Petro Metro, is all about. So...
Well, thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Marlo. It's great to be here. And I'm actually really excited to talk about some of the efforts that the City of Houston has underway to improve the conditions for cyclists here in Houston. The Planning and Development Department that I lead as director has a number of responsibilities. A lot of what we do is actually we have a regulatory function with for example, development and subdivision, but we do have a significant function related to transportation planning for the city. In fact, the Planning and Development Department leads the city's what I call systems level transportation planning, and anything really above a corridor level implementation of a project we would do. So, for example, when we look at our thoroughfares and do planning related to all of our major thoroughfare, we lead that effort in the Planning and Development Department. We lead the city's bicycle-related planning. We do things related to complete streets. Is another program that we have. Mm-hmm. And to the extent that the city coordinates with Metro and does or coordinates with Metro for transit-related planning, we have a leadership role there too. We do a lot of securing of transportation funding and small area studies. So we're excited that the Planning Development Department is now leading the city's effort to update our bicycle master plan as well, and we're looking forward to doing that.
So, when did you actually start as Director of Planning here in Houston, and what are your responsibilities?
Yeah, I started in November of 2013. It's been a little over a year now, and I first became interim director, and I was confirmed by council in March of this past year. And so, as I mentioned, the Planning and Development Department has a significant regulatory function working with the development community, and so I actually am a member of the Planning Commission as well as the city's Historical Commission. We do some historic preservation at the city, and we work with folks who are in our 22 historic districts. and we lead that effort as well. We do a lot of things working with neighborhoods to kind of protect their character, and of course we're a city without zoning, but we do have some tools that neighborhoods can use to preserve their single-family character, and then we have a significant, as I mentioned, transportation planning component as well.
I appreciate that as someone who lives in one of those historic districts up in the Heights in North Hill.
Good. It's a beautiful area.
It really is, and I like it to remain that way. It's a wonderful thing, and there are a lot of people up there who ride bikes, and watching the transformation of what used to be the rail line running up sort of diagonally through and out to the northwest through the Heights, seeing that development kind of along with the White Oak Bayou project has been real gratifying. What exactly is a bicycle master plan? Now, you are a planner by profession, so we'll bring Mr. Bike back in here in a moment, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a great question. What is a bicycle master plan? And really, it is an approach to accomplish a series of bicycle goals, and it is a way to be as effective as possible with the very limited resources of the city to accomplishing a vision and goals as it relates to cycling in Houston. For example, the city and the community could set goals as it relates to increasing ridership. We could set goals as it relates to improving safety. We could set goals as it relates to improving access from neighborhoods and other areas to the various destinations that cyclists want to ride to. And the plan would help us accomplish those goals. It would set up in a prioritized way actions that the city and our partners like BikeHouston, by the way, we're extremely pleased to have an outstanding partner like BikeHouston, and I applaud them for their growth and success over the past several years. And Michael Payne, who's with me here this morning, has been a great partner and great individual to work with. But the plan will help us in this coordinated way identify how we can best go about accomplishing some of these goals with the limited resources and time that we have.
Well, what does all this actually mean? I mean, are we going to actually be able, like in Europe, it's so wonderful because you can ride from your house to your work. Are bike lanes what it's all about, or is there going to be something else that's going to aid cyclists?
Well, we've seen a tremendous shift already in the past couple of decades as it relates to biking here in Houston. I think 20 years ago, if you were a cyclist, you really were an outlier, and I think,
you were splashed with mud. You were yelled at because you were taking too much of the street. Yeah.
There was some of that. There was some of that, and I'd argue that there certainly is a lot more cyclists now than there were then, but I think you're definitely a very small minority of our commuters are using cyclists, and we understand that. We also understand that not everybody's going to get on a bike. We are realistic, but there is a tremendous increase in the interest and support for cycling in Houston. The culture, while it has a long way to go, has improved significantly. But the question of what does that actually mean, I think we're going to have to wait to see what the plan will say. But what I see now, in my view, is under somewhat adverse conditions, we do have a fair amount of cyclists already, especially in the urban core. Mm-hmm. And I'd argue that if we could improve the conditions for cyclists and make it safer and more convenient, there, I think, is some latent demand for a significant increase in ridership here in Houston. And we would see a significant increase in that ridership if we could just make things a little bit better for our cycling community.
Or just a little easier. Yeah. I mean, it's nice that some of your mass transportation actually allows you to put your bicycle on the bus to get you to an area where you can ride. But, I mean, is that all we're going to be looking at, are bike lanes and maybe racks on buses? What are you talking about for this? Will there be pedestrian areas? Will there be areas where bikes will be allowed and you can walk and only mass transportation?
I think we're going to see a variety of different improvements across the city, and I do want to caution everybody that given the somewhat limited resources of the city, this is not going to be a change that happens overnight. But I do think that we've got a long way to go. There's I think a definite need to improve the infrastructure. There are opportunities that are probably more low-hanging fruit that can be implemented with relatively low cost. I mean, there may be some wider, for example, so let's say a 2-lane street, 1 lane each direction with wide lanes, where without impacting the vehicular capacity of that street, you might be able to add with striping a bicycle lane that would provide connectivity and safety for our cycling communities. And there are other measures that are just going to take longer. I mean, as the city over decades reconstructs all of its streets, the city needs a plan for its cycling community so that we can incorporate the needs of cyclists into our street reconstruction program. And some of that, yes, it will be bike lanes. Some of that will be other things that you may have heard of, something called cycle tracks, which are often these 2-lane, barrier-separated facilities that are for cyclists. There are buffered bike lanes now where instead of just that single stripe on the roadway, you may have perhaps a 2-foot wide hashed area that provides a little bit more comfort and safety and separation for a cyclist, between the cyclist and the vehicles. Of course, there's always the off-street trails. We call them shared use paths in my industry, and we need to link to those. The Houston Parks Board is continuing to develop this outstanding project called the Bayou Greenways, which will develop a series of trails along all of the major bayous in the Houston area. And if you look at it from the broad perspective, over $400 million project that they're embarking on. Much of it they're hoping to build by 2020, and I think we're going to be, as we develop this bike plan, looking at the Parks Board's Bayou Greenway program as kind of the trunk system for our master plan to link to. And of course, we'll be looking beyond that, but that's a good starting point.
Oh, sounds like a great starting point. And Michael, what does your organization think of these plans, and how are you guys going to actually work into this?
Yeah, thanks, Marlo. From our perspective, the Bicycle Master Plan is a critical stepping stone for the city of Houston to use to evolve, and it's an opportunity that we're just thrilled to be in the process of right now for a variety of reasons. When what we know from studying other large cities around the country is that cities evolve when cyclists engage. When people get engaged in the political process, things start to change. And from our perspective, BikeHouston hasn't done as much as we could do over the last few years to unite cyclists, but we're working hard to change that now. So when I mentioned there were 1 million bicycle owners in the Houston area, we have failed to engage those people. But we are a member-driven organization. As people join as members, we raise money which we can use to hire staff to advocate for cyclist needs. Most cities our size would have about 20 full-time paid staff to be average. We have 3 today. We're looking to hire a 4th. And we're working to get up to average. And if we have that many people on staff, then we can be engaging with not only the planning department and public works, but also all of the different management districts that are quite frankly in control of their own budgets and are doing their own bicycle planning and spending money on things around the city today, as well as the county and other organizations, super neighborhoods that are engaged in developing their region. And by engaging cyclists, having them come forward, we build capacity to represent their needs. And the Bicycle Master Plan is an important tool for bringing those cyclists forward. So we're going to be kicking off a stakeholder engagement process here in the next month or so, which will effectively ask cyclists what they want, what they need, where their problem areas are, what they would like the future of Houston to look like. And it's going to be very important that cyclists come forward and participate in that if they want to see a different city. And if they're happy with the way everything is right now, I would just say, keep going to work, keep taking your kids to school, and keep doing what you're doing. Don't engage. But if you want something different, you need to join as a member. You need to participate in this stakeholder plan. And through that process, we will drive change in our city. And that's what we see happening in other cities around the country, which is so exciting.
I really love this stakeholder engagement process. That's really great terminology there,
yeah,
right?
So what does that mean? That basically means we're going to hold some meetings.
Yeah.
We're going to engage the public in a variety of different ways. We're going to hold, face-to-face meetings where we ask people for their opinions, where we look at maps, where we talk about the routes that they cycle on for commuting or for recreational purposes. But we're also going to have an online process so people can submit their ideas online, and it's going to be good.
Michael Payne from BikeHouston, along with Patrick Walsh from the City of Houston Planning and Development Department, where he is the director. Michael, the ED, over at BikeHouston. You're tuned to the Open Journal on Pacifica Radio here in Houston, the Mighty 90. It's 20 minutes in front of the hour of 9. I'm Dwayne Bradley with Marlo Blue.
So when we talk about, first of all, where will people be able to find out information about these meetings? Do you have a website that they can go to? Will it be listed on the city planning page on COH? Or?
Yeah. In fact, first of all, we haven't quite kicked off the plan yet. We're hoping to take, number one, we're hoping to use the services of some transportation planning firms that to assist us with this plan. And there's actually some real expertise that goes into developing a bicycle master plan and understanding what are the national best practices and what are some of the strategies that we can use to really improve cycling conditions here in Houston. But once we get it kicked off, the city will be leading the project with our partners, and we'll have on our website, the Planning and Development Department of the city will have a section dedicated to the project. And folks will be doing a significant outreach with press releases and other means, alerting folks to opportunities to engage. We believe that good public policy will reflect the interests and preferences of the community. So we need to hear from the community, as Michael correctly said. We want people to participate in this project. We want to set some goals. We want to be ambitious. We also want to be realistic, and we want to think big. But we also know that not everybody's going to get on their bikes. So we've got to find the right balance here in Houston that works for us. We're a unique city, and there's a lot of different opinions and interests when it comes to biking. There's a lot of I think interesting questions that the city needs to ask, and we've got to find out to what degree we can incorporate and should incorporate bicycle facilities onto our streets. I think there's a robust debate and a lot of opinions about that in the city. But I certainly think we have to do much better than we are today. And so we will be having lots of opportunities to engage, and we'll be advertising that.
And certainly BikeHouston.org is always a place where cyclists and non-cyclists can get more information about what's happening in the city. We'll be posting updates there as the process evolves.
Are you seeing an increase in people who are cyclist enthusiasts? And although Michael said last week that not all cyclist enthusiasts wear spandex, I have to say that I still like that image. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are, and across the country, you see more people cycling. We know the numbers are going up. We know that people are looking for ways to address the health issue. So one of the major drivers here is that as a society, and here in Houston, we have failed to develop a built environment where people feel comfortable getting out of their houses and getting out of their cars and moving around and going out for walks and going running and riding their bikes to get to destinations. And that's had very serious implications for the health of our community. And quite frankly, we are now in a situation where we have a healthcare epidemic, and with 9% type 2 diabetes rates, 28% high blood pressure, and other challenges around obesity and just being overweight. And that's coming from a lack of physical activity. It's not a high technology problem. It's just people don't have an environment where they can get out and feel comfortable moving around. So they're trying to find ways to do that. The bicycle is a great way to do that. It's low impact on your joints, and it's a lot of fun. So that more people are cycling.
Michael Payne from BikeHouston, along with Patrick Walsh from the city. You're tuned to the Open Journal on KPFT. We're going to pause briefly for an update with Patrick outside the glass cube here. Let us know what's happening where you are, and we'll be right back.
Well, good morning. That wreck slowing inbound traffic on the Gulf Freeway in Griggs has been joined by another at the Southwest Freeway interchange blocking the left lane there. And down on surface streets, there are two major accidents being cleared downtown, one at Smith and Dallas as well as another at Milam and Peace. In weather, it's 40 degrees outside right now. Today will be one of those sideways days as we slide through all-day temperatures near 40. Low tonight of 36 degrees. Rain chances are expected to stop today in the next few hours, but a 60% chance of rain over the weekend. And we now continue with KPFT's Open Journal.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay, it's 8:45. You're tuned to the Mighty 90, and this is the Open Journal on KPFT. Thanks for being there. I'm Dwayne Bradley with Marlo Blue in the studio with us. Well, we're talking about the bicycle master plan for the city of Houston. We have Michael Payne from BikeHouston in here with us. He's the executive director. Patrick Walsh also joins us. He's from the city of Houston. He's the director over there at the Planning and Development Department. So we got a couple of bigwigs here. We got, important folks here to talk about an important issue. And I want to jump into a big one, which I'm real excited about, and I'm also, I want to learn from this. The Lamar transformation, a lane of a downtown street is going to be taken away from trucks and cars and turned into pedestrian bike lane, kind of a non-driving component through the downtown grid. That sounds revolutionary. As the director of the Planning and Development Department here, maybe you could address that and tell us exactly what's going to happen when and what that really means.
You bet. And we're really excited about the potential for what we're calling a cycle track facility on Lamar Street downtown. Lamar is one of those east-west streets, and for years a number of planning studies have identified a need for improved east-west bicycle connectivity across downtown. On the west side of downtown, you have these incredible trail systems along Buffalo Bayou now and Sam Houston Park there, which are already seeing a tremendous amount of cyclists. And then on the east side of downtown, you've got Discovery Green, and then just immediately east of there, you've got the trail system that runs north-south that's just east of downtown. So there's a real great opportunity to improve bicycle connectivity and safety in the downtown area. And we've looked at a number of ways to accomplish that, and including down to specific streets, and we analyzed it in quite a lot of detail to figure out, do we have the capacity, the vehicular capacity on our street system to accommodate the loss of a lane in order to support the safety and the mobility of our cycling community. And we do believe we've come up with a solution that does work. We've been reaching out to all of our stakeholders in the downtown area, but the proposed solution is what we're calling this green lane, or a park connector, which will be on the south side of Lamar Street, that southernmost lane, which is mostly parking during the day. It is a travel lane during our peak hours, and making that a two-way cycle track. So we'll have bicycle traffic. We'll have a dedicated lane, roughly, I believe, 4 or 5 feet each direction, and it will have also a modest barrier that will separate the cycle facility from the traffic. We'll have these, we like to call them armadillos, but they're these basically small, you might call them a hump that would be fastened to the pavement. And
it's like a series of turtles.
There. Yeah, turtles is probably a good descriptor.
It's better than little potted plants, poinsettias, which are pretty, but probably not as effective.
That's right, and it's a interesting technically project because Lamar is a one-way street. Now you will have two-way cycling on it. So we have to have a way for cyclists to safely traverse all the cross streets. They all have to have their own signals for the eastbound cyclist. And so that's a project that we've developed. We have extensively worked with the stakeholders downtown. In fact, we continue to work with the stakeholders to make sure that they understand what we're proposing to do and to find out what their concerns are. We hope that we have address their concerns to the degree that we can. And but we really see this as a tremendous opportunity. Houston is known for being a vehicle-focused city, and in order for us to continue to reach out and attract the best and the brightest, not just in terms of employees, but also in terms of companies, we need to change our image in our view, and we need to do better to show that we are a green city and that we are thinking more creatively about other modes of transportation, and that we're looking at issues that affect quality of life, not just attempting to build our way out of congestion, but looking at how other modes are an important part of our mobility solution. So the Lamar Street Park Connector or Green Lane is an exciting project.
It really is. And when will we actually manifest this? When will I be able to challenge myself to hop on this lane?
I think you're gonna see construction on Lamar Street in the spring. I can't commit to anything better than that at this time.
Okay.
It's a different department that's handling that, but
Gotcha.
But this spring I think you're going to see some work going on in Lamar.
Well, in terms of planning, how does the Bicycle Master Plan or the city or Bike Houston or all of this work together with business owners, with employers, to small business, big business, providing incentives to make, say, some of the folks who work down in the core actually want to do this by setting up bike racks or having shower facilities
the support system stuff.
Yeah, some of that infrastructure.
Right. Well, it's a critical piece of the.
And thanks to James who tweeted in that question actually. So
yeah, it's a great question. It's an important part of the planning process. I mean, because the engagement of all the different communities, not just business, but all parts of our society is important for it to be successful. The management, I mentioned the management districts earlier, but the downtown central management district has been very engaged in this process and very positive about the need for improved bicycle infrastructure and leading on this front, and we're very grateful for their support. The Greater Houston Partnership and their Quality of Life Committee is interested in these issues, and as Patrick mentioned, this is important to the evolution of Houston. Houston wants to be a competitive destination for corporations to relocate and for the best and brightest, for people to have options. They understand the business case for having options for people to move around the city, both for recreational and transportation purposes. So the corporations actually are falling into line pretty quickly, and that goes from big businesses, which are dealing with the healthcare cost and recognize that they can't afford to keep doing things the way we've been doing things for the last 20 years because it's too expensive, to small businesses that recognize that people are in their cars and they're driving by at 40 miles an hour going to Target, Walmart parking lots. That doesn't work for the small business owner. And when you're a pedestrian or you're a cyclist, you spend a lot more money stopping at small shops along the way between your house and your office because it's convenient, it's pleasant, and you find things that you're looking for.
Yeah, and just to follow up on Michael's saying, we agree that having a truly bicycle-friendly city means not just having those physical facilities on the street, the bike lanes and the trails, but it also means having a culture to support the cycling community, and we need to do things that promote biking. We need to educate both our cycling community as well as our motorists. We frequently do get complaints that, from both sides, from the cyclists who are concerned about the cars that are getting too close to them, as well as from the motorists who are concerned and frustrated with cyclists who they feel are perhaps not obeying the laws fully, maybe not stopping at a stop sign or a stoplight. So there's clearly education that needs to happen. I think there is enforcement that is a component of this as well, and the city has been stepping up its enforcement efforts for laws that relate to cycling and motorist behavior, like the safe passing law and the 3-foot minimum space that a motorist is now required to maintain between your vehicle and the cyclist. So there's a lot of things that need to happen between promotion, education, enforcement, as well as some of the extras like the bike racks and the bike parking and the shower facilities that all are an important part of bringing everything together to create a bicycle-friendly community. And I think the Bicycle Master Plan can at least, a lot of that stuff maybe can't be led by the city, but the city can help serve as a catalyst and coordinate with some of our partners to help make some of these things happen.
And BikeHouston actually is providing those sorts of services as well. So, for our members, and we want to thank all of our members as well who have joined the organization recently. But we will work with your employer requesting showers and saying, hey, there are people that are interested in showers. We are working with the healthcare clubs downtown to have a shower-only membership package. So instead of having to join the whole health club,
that's a great idea.
You can just pay a small fee and be able to cycle in, use the showers, get a towel, and then head to the office if you don't have showers in your offices. They like that because it uses their office as well.
Yes, we didn't even get to talk about the B-cycle stations, which are growing all over the city, and we're already out of time.
Oh, yeah, 29 stations, 1,800 checkouts each week.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's great.
And I have a bunch of questions about that, and we're going to have to bring you back and do this again. We'll plan on doing this in the springtime when I'm going to think about riding a bike.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Patrick Walsh and Michael Payne, thank you so much for joining us today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's been our pleasure.
Well, once again, it's time to wrap up the Open Journal for today and for the week. I'm Dwayne Bradley. We invite you to stop by kpft.org for more on this morning's program. Let us know how you feel about this topic, what you've heard today, what you'd like to hear tomorrow.